Hi, this is Patrick Giguère, and welcome to the Cosmic Alchemist YouTube channel. So thanks for tuning in. Thank you to all of you. Thank you to everybody, especially who watches these videos, likes, subscribes, and comments. It all helps the channel. It helps the algorithm if you drop a comment and a like. So I appreciate it. If you're not yet a subscriber, I ask you to consider doing so. Every time I upload or go live, you'll get a notification. So let's get into this month. So, and by the way, this is a sidereal astrological analysis and forecast. So, if you're not familiar, sidereal astrology is visible sky astrology. So, if you look up in the sky, you look for Jupiter, Saturn, the moon, Venus, Mars, whatever. It's all about what constellations the planets are physically transiting through. So mainstream astrology is tropical astrology. It's a completely valid zodiac. I just prefer not to use it. I prefer to use the visible sky zodiac. So if my placement of planets within degrees and signs sound wrong, it's okay. I know it. So if you still want to watch, here we go. So it's going to get weirder. So this is my August video. I'm going to talk about August 2023. It's getting weirder still. September is going to be a big month. It's going to be a highlight in this year for sure. So August is a preparation for that. Big themes I see coming up now and in September and for the rest of the year and into next year. Health is going to be a big one. Now, I don't see any new cooties flying around. No new scamdemic, nothing like that. No new version of the needlecraft, nothing like that. I think really, because we have a lot of Virgo activity coming up. So Mars is going to transit into Virgo. It's going to make some yods. It's going to make some aspects with some planets. It's going to prep some sort of a new drama surrounding health and disease and all that stuff, and medicine and public health. So Mars is going to prep that, and that's really going to manifest in September and October. But Mars is planting the seeds for that. What I just see this as when I get my intellect into it, I think if there is some new health emergency, it's going to be side effects from the needlecraft. Those are going to start kicking in more. We're going to go into a new cold and flu season, and any genetic or physical like organ damage that's been done from the needlecraft doses, it may very well start manifesting more. And of course, the legacy dinosaur. Media is going to say it's like a new wave of some new form of cooties, but really it's just side effects. Now, I hope everybody's fine. I hope nobody suffers from this, but Mother Nature is what it is. There are consequences to our actions. So, whether you've been needlecrafted or not, this is a good time to work on your health, especially if you've been needlecrafted. If you have buyer's remorse over the needlecraft, there are things you can do to work this stuff out of your body, to work these, genetic rewrites out of your body. And, what I've heard people call Mother Hydra's babies. Now, what are Mother Hydra's babies? These are the congealing of blood as a result of needlecraft, clots. There are things you can do to reverse that. You've got so many different supplements out there. One I'd recommend, I use products from a company called Umzu. It's the guy who wrote the Thermo Diet book. This guy, Christopher Walker, he had a brain tumor and then it went away, and he did it all from nutrition. So he has a product called Redwood. You may have seen ads on YouTube. His supplements in general were the first supplements I've ever noticed working in my whole adult life. So yeah, Redwood is great for your circulation, get your blood moving, acupuncture. If you don't live in my local area, find an acupuncturist. And, say you want to work on your blood circulation, prevent clotting, strokes, all that kind of stuff. Anybody who's gone to a good acupuncture school is going to be like, yeah, I can help you with that. I've had acupuncturists who've gone to some suspect schools ask me if we can do anything for strokes and clotting, and it's like, yeah, were you paying attention or what? Or was your school that bad? But yeah, you can do that. Just doing things like Qigong, breathing exercise is great for your circulation. I sell Qigong videos on my website. I'll put my website link in the description. There's so many things you can do. Do yoga, do breathing exercises. Try not to get caught up in negative thinking, negative emotions. Those boost your stress hormones. You get more stress hormones, your blood doesn't flow so well. So there's plenty of things you can do. So I don't want to plug any one remedy too hard here. But yeah, things are getting weirder, and there's going to be some new episode of public health. But like I said, needlecraft side effects. So that's what we're building up to here. We're building up to more scandals. So we got all this Virgo activity, like I said, which is healthcare, public health, medicines, diseases, poisons. For America, Virgo is the 10th house of government. So, yeah, there are some scandals of brewing. They're going to get worse. I think Mr. Biden's going to be in the shitter. I think things are going to catch up to him. But, so much of the Congress and the court system won't do anything, about politicians they like. So, but another thing with him, too, that's going to really be kicking in September and beyond, for 3 months after that, through the end of the year. Saturn is sidereally, it's transiting the sign Aquarius. It's in retrograde. It's moving closer to America's natal moon degree. So where America's moon was when America was born in the evening of July 4th, 1776, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, that moon is at 7 degrees. Saturn is moving toward it. Saturn is going to pass it to 6 degrees Aquarius, and it's retrograde. It's going to stop and station, and it's going to be near that 7th degree of Aquarius on top of America's moon for about 3 months. Now, Mr. Biden's natal K2, so K2 speaks about losses, it cuts things away, it releases things. Mr. Biden's natal K2 is at 7 degrees Aquarius. So leaders affect their countries. So, whether that's him, whether that's somebody in a mask or what the fuck, either way, so many people still believe, well, even people who don't like him, they believe in the archetype and the thought form of Joe Biden. So he is effectively the leader, right? Symbolically, he's the figurehead. Figureheads, leaders affect the organizations and the groups they lead. So having his natal K2 on America's moon means he causes the country losses. I'm not saying he's a great president, horrible president. I hate the whole two-party system. I'm just saying, you overlay those two charts, he's bad for the country. And then to have transiting Saturn be there, it's all about the karma of those losses. And so losses that have come about while he's been at the wheel are going to be more apparent. Even people who like him are going to have more trouble denying it. So, stuff him and his crackhead son have been collaborating on. So shady foreign business deals, making shitloads of money, insider trading, things like that. So I think it's going to be like 3 months of just shit coming out about those two, about the flying Bidens. So yeah, it's going to be a weird month, but then September's going to be even weirder. But things we have this month. We've got 2 full moons. So there's 13 full moons in a year of 12 months, but one of those months has 2 full moons. So full moons, August 1st, August 30th. Very emotional month. Full moons are extremely emotional. They're about endpoints. They're about the soul fully illuminating the mind, the moon. So sun is the soul, moon is the mind. It's about the intensity and the energy of the soul fully illuminating the mind. You can't hide from your feelings during a full moon. That's why people go crazy. That's why there's all kinds of violence, domestic violence, accidents. People drink and do drugs crazier than usual. It's because as human beings, unless we face our emotions, we have 1,000,001 ways to avoid our emotions. So, but on a full moon, they're very hard to avoid, so it makes people go crazy. So 2 full moons, big ass deal here. And then we have with Uranus, we have a return of sorts. Uranus has an 84-year orbit. 84 years ago is 1939. World War II broke out, officially September 1st, 1939, when the Third Reich, Nazi Germany, invaded Poland. So August the 29th is a return. So this is like this is the sky indicating kind of the start of World War III. So I'm not talking about a big crazy military war like World War II, but a war in the mind, a war for your mind. There'll be some military drama, but I don't see the big giant, megadeth kind of war like World War II. But we're back to that point where people are going to be tricked into helping billionaires and multinational corporations and banks do their bidding and do their fighting for them so they can get richer, just like they tricked people into fighting World War II. But this one's going to be a flop because we've got Saturn looking out for us. Again, Saturn on America's moon. Saturn's like, fucking slow down. No bullshit here. So Saturn's the man. I've been working more with Saturn lately. Saturn's the man. If you want to know about working with planets, I can do a reading with you. It's invaluable information. We've got a Venus retrograde all through this month. This is where relationships break down. Venus is relationships, romance, diplomacy, mediation, all that stuff. So it's relationships, not necessarily breaking down. They can break down, but it's all about relationship and friendship and even family issues, relationships with all other human beings coming to the surface, the issues coming to the surface so that we can deal with them, we can resolve them, we can heal them. And sometimes through that resolution process, you discover that you have irreconcilable differences with people. And you don't want to maintain your unions, so you go your own way. So it's a month for that. A new moon. We have a Gandanta new moon, so 29 degrees of Cancer, which is a water sign. Gandanta means a knot. It has kind of the energy of like drowning or like water turning to steam and expanding and causing pressure. So Gandanta is when planets transit from water signs to fire signs. And there are 3 points like this in the zodiac. So this one, 29 degrees Cancer, it's where Cancer transits into Leo. So it goes from water to fire. So it's the last 2 degrees of the water sign, first 2 degrees of the fire that have this sort of like under pressure, steam, emotional intensity sort of quality. Feels like drowning, feels, panicky. So we got a new moon there. That's going to be an intense new moon. Mercury goes retrograde towards the end of the month and continues its retrograde into mid-September. It's a Mercury retrograde in Leo. Leo, it does deal with rulers, royals, executive figures. It deals with entertainment. Politics is entertainment because politics is a performance art. This Mercury retrograde, I think, is going to highlight things about the Hollywood strike. I think politicians are going to get involved with this because they're going to get desperate because Hollywood is a propaganda machine at this point. I mean, it always has been to an extent, but it's intense now. And, Hollywood pushes so much like racial division, white guilt, gender division, this whole idea that there are like 70 genders. Hollywood's pushing all this shit. But yeah, so I think the politicians are going to get desperate because the people don't have as much entertainment to be distracted by. Movies are not being made. That's going to take about a year to kick in when you have like a lack of movies. But the television series are the more short-term consequence. So less television to watch because, again, the writers and the actors are on strike. As they should be, especially the writers. Writers are getting screwed. So, yeah. And then with this Mercury retrograde, political scandals. The politicians who... It's an interesting thing with leaders in the modern world. They have all the privileges, all the luxuries, and they have no responsibility. They're never held accountable. In the old days, the standard for rulers was actually little privilege and great responsibility. But since the major religions, Buddhism, Christianity, Islam, basically drove off or killed all the old world rulers and put ones they bribed on their thrones, it flipped. So yeah, these people are going to be feeling their discomfort even more through this Mercury retrograde. This speaks to scandals too. So, and then we got some funky aspects with Mars here again, like I was talking about in Virgo, and I'll get into those in detail. And then, and the last thing, in summary here, August 20th, Sun's going to come into a yod. So a yod is a Y formation between three planets. And it causes disruptions. It causes shocking, unexpected things to happen. So yods are called, it's a Hebrew letter. They're called the finger of God. So it's like God's like putting his finger into different situations on Earth and causing upsets. So there's going to be a yod set up for the next 4 years. So every time around August 20th, the sun will newly have come into Leo, being the lunar mansion of Persephone. Every time in the next 4 years, every time the sun comes to this point in August, you're going to see scandals with political leaders, and even corporate and financial leaders, all types of leaders and rulers in this world. You're going to see end of the summer scandals with this people because the sun will come into a yod with Neptune, which is illusions, but also divine love and, truth, revelations and things. And then Pluto is the other planet involved. So Pluto it's all about karmic wounds. It's all about old karmic wounds that need to be healed. It's the soul's journey, and it's the god of the underworld. So it's about doing deep healing that makes us uncomfortable. We'd rather not do it, but we don't have a choice. So, yeah, pretty interesting stuff. So that's the summary of it. This is all you have time for. We're getting ready here for some more scandals and some sort of some health drama. But not like it was in the last 3 years. People, rulers want to bring back the last 3 years, I think desperately, but they just can't. So that's basically the deal with that. So let's get into the specifics here. Got a new way I'm kind of looking at things through the lens of the lunar mansions. I think it's pretty interesting, and I think you diehards that watch this channel will like it. All right, so let's do it in the order here that I just went through, but more in depth. 2 full moons. Okay, so August 1st, full moon, 15 degrees Capricorn. So middle of Capricorn. In a lunar mansion called Apollo. Now Apollo is ruled by the moon. So Apollo is a god of light, is a sun god. But this constellation within Capricorn called Apollo, ruled by the moon. It's got a pretty neat symbol here. So it looks like a sun disk with a crescent moon under it, and then there are these 3 dots connected. So what you have here, you have a symbol that illustrates sort of the relationship between the sun and the moon. So soul and mind. Now, what's described here, the three dots in this symbol are basically people listening to a speaker. So the crescent moon kind of makes like a division between, the large dot in the center and the smaller three dots. So you can almost imagine like a speaker on a stage removed from the crowd. So this constellation Apollo, it's all about listening. It's about our ability to listen to other people, and it's about our ability to be listened to. So, because the moon is a listener. The moon is a luminary, but it doesn't make its own light. It's receptive. It receives the light of the sun. So yeah, Apollo, it's an energy of doing deep research, diving into things, learning things, wanting to have a network of people that, you can learn from. So this full moon is saying, it's kind of saying two contradictory things. So let's look at full moons here. Full moons, it's an opposition between sun and moon. They're in opposite signs. So full moons are the end of something. They're the end of a monthly cycle. So they're like a birth. They're either a birth or they're menstruation. They symbolize in the physical world. Births and menstruations are both ends of a cycle. If there's a conception, then that fertility cycle ends with a birth. If no conception takes place, it ends with menstruation. So full moons are the completion of something. And, something comes out into the world, be that blood, be that a baby. So full moons are the end of the road. So, and it's in this lunar mansion that speaks to listening. So what does this mean here? Well, this can mean evaluate who it is that you're listening to, you have been listening to. And a lot of people are doing this. There's a lot of awakening going on in the world. The awakening will accelerate this month. It's going to accelerate more in September, and then all points in time beyond that, it'll accelerate more and more. So I think this is saying, okay, well, be careful who you listen to. Be wise about who you listen to. So you might want to stop listening to some people, start listening to others. This is also about demand to be listened to when you really have something to say, not so much when, you just want to complain or you just want to get your way, or your ego is injured. I'm talking more about times when you need to stand up and be heard. So it's a good time to do that. Now the sun, because again, sun and moon are both involved in full moons. Full moon is the most solar time of the moon cycle because the moon is reflecting the full light of the sun. So the sun is in the opposite lunar mansion in Cancer, which is called Zeus. Zeus is the highest power in heaven, whereas on Earth it's Natura, which is actually a goddess whose name was used to name a lunar mansion also in Capricorn. So Natura, highest power on earth, but Zeus, the highest power in heaven. So this full moon is receiving energy, light from the ruler of heaven. So the ruler of heaven, Zeus, through Apollo, a god of musicians and very creative people, even healers, they are delivering this message of Zeus, saying, be careful who you listen to. It could cost you dearly. Or on the other side of the coin, listening to the right people could be a boon for you. It could be a great benefit. So, very interesting. Then we get to August 30th, the other full moon. That one, it's in the next sign, 13 degrees Aquarius. This one is in the lunar mansion of Aegeon. Aegeon is the abode, the palace, the dwelling place of Poseidon, aka Neptune, god of the ocean. This is a Rahu-ruled sign. So Aegeon, what's Aegeon all about? Aegeon is, even though it is in Aquarius, again, it's the home of Neptune. So Neptune, the god of the oceans themselves, all water, they deal with deep unconscious emotions. Water is extremely emotional, archetypally. And even just dealing with water in the physical world, it stirs your emotions. That's why a lot of people have a fear of water. So Aegeon is all about, helping people. It has very Aquarian themes. Aquarius deals with fairness, justice for, just regular, everyday working people. So it's all about, the Neptune, Poseidon, he's the god of the ocean. He's a god of storms and earthquakes, but he also helps people. He also saves people. In all cultures, people would call out and invoke god of the ocean for safety while, traveling on the ocean. So it does deal with helping people. So this one is very interesting. This is a full moon that deals with manifesting help. So Aquarius does deal with science. It also deals with social networks. So it's like the people, it's basically making alliances, getting help from the people people in your life. So it has that going on. It will be conjunct planet Saturn. So full moon's at 13 degrees Aquarius, Saturn is at 9 degrees. So it's within 4 degrees, pretty close. So Saturn is sometimes, like a dreaded planet in pop astrology. Saturn wants to help you, but Saturn wants you to follow your genuine path, follow what you really want in your heart. And, Saturn says you can have a good life, you just have to be worthy of it. You have to have proper boundaries, and you can't chase other people's dreams. So Saturn being in this lunar mansion, Aegeon, being in Aquarius, Saturn is saying, look, you can have your best possible life. I'm happy to help you, but you're gonna have to, be worthy of your own soul. Have proper boundaries. Don't get walked on. Don't listen to people who don't have your best interests at heart. And stop doing things that are not you. That you just don't want to do, that you're doing for other people. Stop being a martyr. That kind of stuff. So Saturn's basically saying, I've got you hold all the keys, you just have to realize it, and I'll help you recognize what they are and how to use them. But you gotta stop clowning around. You gotta get back on your genuine path in life. That's a big deal for Saturn. Saturn basically enforces our soul's desires. So before birth, the soul says to this energy, which is Saturn, look, I'm gonna go live this life as a Patrick. And if I get off of Patrick's life path, I want you to hammer me. I want you to teach me lessons. So Saturn's like, yeah, you can have an awesome life, but you got to be worthy of it here. You got to earn it. Because when you're being your real self, you are at a resonant frequency with your best life. You just start bringing things in, manifesting things. You can attract things without having to figure everything out. So now this full moon, another layer to this, it is conjunct one of the royal stars. So the star of Fomalhaut. I said that right. Fomalhaut, it's a spiritual star. It's all about slow and steady progress. So it's extremely Saturnian. Saturn is all about slow and steady progress. Saturn isn't, win the lottery, inherit $20 million. Saturn doesn't, make you rich quick. Saturn doesn't give you skills quickly. Saturn doesn't let you have all your dreams quickly. You have to work for them. You have to chip away at them. So, just being conjunct this fixed star, it's saying you can have anything that you truly want. Not a borrowed dream, not a dream somebody has convinced you to have. You can have any of your genuine dreams. You're just going to have to work at it. And it's not going to be as hard as you think. Start by being your real self. So that's that full moon summary. Okay. 29th, we've got that basically that Uranus return to where it was in 1939 when World War II broke out. So this is marked by the retrograde. So on the 29th of August, 2023, Uranus goes retrograde at 28 degrees Aries. Now, August the 29th, 1939, Uranus went retrograde at 28 degrees of Aries, sidereal. And then on September 1st, Poland was invaded, World War II was officially on. So we're back to that point here, okay? But like I said, I don't see the big bloodbath war. I think the U.S. might get its nose bloodied. We might lose an aircraft carrier in the South China Sea. I've been seeing something like that for a while. Not a carrier, a ship. And most people in the military, the rank and file, I'm thinking back to like classmates at the Naval Academy. They're going to be like, oh my God, how'd this happen? Whereas like, by the time I was graduating from the place in 2004, I was like, oh my God, our military is a fucking joke. Like, it's led by a bunch of mediocre, like, just middle-class consumers. I'm not talking about the whole military. I'm not talking about the whole officer corps that way, but it's pretty overwhelming that they have those qualities. They're like middle-class, like, corporate managers. So I saw an ass kicking coming, 20 years ago. So we're back to this point. We're back to very similar energy, very similar mindset as World War II. Now here in 2023, Americans don't want to admit this, but NATO is the Axis powers. America is the Fourth Reich. Like America, really the English-speaking world. So, the former British Empire. So, we're talking like UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, America and Israel. They're the Fourth Reich. And all the other NATO members, those are the other Axis powers. So back in World War II, you had Germany, you had Japan, you had, Italy was, kind of like a lesser player. But then you had like Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, those countries either joined the Axis or they were, forced into it, like Czech Republic, Austria, Slovakia. So yeah, very similar times. So you've got Axis powers again. And what are they trying to do? They're trying to invade Russia just like what they wanted to do in 1939. They didn't do it for 2 more years. They didn't do it until 1941. So if things progress according to the astrology, it'll be 2025 by the time that the WASP aristocrats that run the American empire, that run NATO, will try to send troops into Russia if they decide that that's a good idea, which, they think they're special. So we'll see what happens with that. But we're back there. Now, to shed some light on this whole placement of Uranus, driving these world wars. So Uranus making this retrograde at 28 Aries, it's in a lunar mansion called Vesta. Now, Vesta, it's a cool symbol. It looks like two things. It looks like a candle flame, but it also looks like basically a spear point. What do they call that? They call that like a leaf-shaped spear point. So, what the heck's Vesta? Vesta, it's the Roman goddess of the hearth, of the home, goddess of, just sees over the household, protector of the household, protector of the marriage, protector of the family. So Vesta is all about protecting the home. So you go back to World War II. Everybody who got involved in that was trying to protect their home. And, even though Nazi Germany was on the offensive, they were told they were protecting their home. It's like America after, 2001 and the war on terror. It's like America in Vietnam. They're like, you got to go fight 7,000 miles away to protect your home. And it's kind of like, common sense kind of goes, huh? Protect my home? But, when people are under the influence of propaganda, propaganda is an opportunity to lie to yourself. So when people are lying to themselves, they go, I got to go 7,000 miles away to protect my home against third world people who, don't even have a plane that can fly over here, So, America's the Fourth Reich. The English-speaking world is the Fourth Reich because they're just like the people of the Third Reich. It's just like Nazi Germany. So anyway, Nazi Germany, they were told, it's like you're invading Eastern Europe, you're invading Russia to protect your home. Now, it was, I'm pulling a Biden here. Words are getting stuck. The German people really got the shaft from 1918 onward, through the beginning of the 1930s. Basically, Germany was winning World War I. World War I went from 1914 to 1918. They were winning. Through some crooked deals, America was brought into the war, which had been neutral. The president of the U.S. was elected on the promise of not getting involved in World War I. So America gets involved. It tips the scales, and basically the politicians in Germany were, they were bought off and they surrendered. The military, however, was not ready to surrender. And the German military initially didn't surrender. Now, when America entered the war, Britain was like, in 1917, Great Britain was like a week away from running out of food. They were about to fold. And it was this whole deal with the Zionists that got America into the war. Basically, the British government had to promise the World Zionist Organization to give them Israel. And in exchange, the Zionists would bring America into the war. Now, the Zionists were able to do this because Hollywood was set up by Jewish immigrants who were sympathetic to the Zionist cause. Now, I'm not saying Jewish people are evil or any bullshit like that. I'm saying the people who did this happened to be Jewish people of the Zionist variety that got America into the war. So Germany was blamed for the whole war, even though it was started by a Serbian terrorist organization and the Austrians, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, the Austrian Empire. But Germany got blamed for the whole thing, and blaming Germany was a way for the bankers to loot Germany, to steal all of Germany's wealth, and to siphon it into the Central Bank of France, which the people who owned the Bank of England also owned. These same people owned the Federal Reserve Bank in America, which was new at that time. So Germany got blamed for the war. Germany got fucked. It took Germany until something like 2009 to pay back the final reparations to France. So they got totally screwed. The whole peace treaty was, orchestrated by bankers. So Germany got shafted in the even as early as 1919 through the 1920s. People in Germany were fucking starving. And, when the communists and the National Socialists were having, street battles in Germany, when horses would get shot, the German people would run out and butcher the horse right there so they could have food. They would wait for a horse to get shot in these street battles in places like Munich. So Germany got absolutely fucked. And because of all the trauma that the German people had gone through, financial interests, so the Prussian aristocrats, not the Russian, but the Prussian aristocrats, in a joint venture with Wall Street, with the WASP aristocrats, and I'm not trashing, English Anglo-Saxon people. I'm talking about their aristocrats. But the tribe members allow aristocrats to do what they do. So the WASP aristocrats in London and New York got together with the Prussian aristocrats. It created National Socialism. That's how Hitler got to power. Germany got traumatized. They got robbed. They got looted. They got absolutely screwed. So Hitler takes power. He wants to conquer Eastern Europe and Russia, and they're telling the German military and the German people, we've got to do this to protect your home. And they just kind of go, well, Mr. Hitler, you brought us back from the brink of, well, not the brink of starvation. You brought us back from starvation. You brought our country's dignity back, our country's standing in the world. We have all this new technology. They were like, yeah, okay, we'll do it. You did a lot for us. So that's how that whole mess happened. So we're going to have people again telling us, perhaps telling us, you need to go invade Russia because you owe it to us, you rulers. So, especially young people, be fucking careful. I wouldn't join the military if I were you. So, this point in Aries where Uranus, the earth shaker, the game changer, is going retrograde, 28 degrees Aries, it's conjunct a star called Butine. Butine is at 26 sidereal Aries. So this is the hind legs and, the loins, like the genitals of the ram of Aries, ruled by Venus. So to me, this talks about rulers trying to harness the sexual energy of their subjects in order to prosecute a war of, exploitation and conquest, and money making. So what does sexual energy have to do with fighting? Well, sexual energy, which is your kundalini, your sexual energy, it's like the basis of your personality, and it's where you get the energy to fight back. So if you want to talk about runes, you've got the Elhaj or the Alkes rune. So it looks like it's like the rune of energy healers and shamans and medicine men, medicine women, people like that, channeling divine energy. It also deals with sexual energy, and sexual energy gives you the wherewithal to protect yourself, gives you the get up and go, to get off your ass, to fight back and protect yourself, protect who you care about, what you care about, and to protect your home. So rulers are trying to harness this, and they do this through fucking with our sexuality. So you had religions, especially like Christianity, Judaism, Islam, sexually repressing people so that they could redirect that repressed sexuality into crusades, jihads, witch trials, wars, all that kind of shit. Now what they're doing, what they've been doing since the 60s, what the globalists have been doing since the 60s, instead of repressing the sexual energy and keeping it down, and then when the people are ready to burst, they go over there and fucking kill that person. And they go, oh, okay, we're going to war. Instead of doing that, what they're actually doing is they're trying to, since the 60s, the globalists have been trying to kill our sexuality by over-sexualizing us. So you got people, especially in the age of the internet, with just like ridiculous porn addictions, and it's like, they can't even get off from sex anymore. It's like they need porn. It's like they like their own hand more than, somebody else's body. They're doing this by, since the 60s, just encouraging people to fuck everyone, because it's like, when you've had sex with, hundreds or, even dozens or hundreds or, thousands of people in some people's cases, it doesn't do it for you anymore. You have to keep getting kinkier and weirder. Ecstasy was a disaster for sexual energy, because once people who've had sex on ecstasy, have never done this. People who've had sex on ecstasy, it enhances your tactile sensations, your sense of touch. It enhances it so much that sober sex is completely boring. And now with all the genital mutilation, with the widespread fashionability of the trans movement, especially doing it to children having their genitals mutilated before their body ever starts producing sex hormones, before their sexuality even awakens. So it's basically it's an attempt to create a generation that has never experienced real sexuality, because it's like, having a sexual experience with your fake engineered penis or your fake engineered vagina is never going to be the same. So, it's like now they're basically, the globalists are trying to crush sexuality so that we have no personality, we have no impulse to fight back and stand up for ourselves. And they're like, we need you to go invade Russia. And people are going to go, oh, okay. Oh, Donald Trump's a bad man. Okay. Or they're like, we need you Americans to go defend Israel to the last man. And people go, okay. Oh, Donald Trump's a bad man. You know what I mean? So, yeah. So it's interesting. So yeah, this conjunction of this Uranus stationing and going retrograde with Botine, this fixed star. It's all about rulers want to harness the sexual energy of the population and drive it towards war. And then, so Vesta's symbol, it looks like a flame or a spearhead. Well, the flame, it's about the hearth fire. The priestesses of Vesta, the Vestal virgins, would keep the sacred fire going. So what's the sacred fire? The sacred fire, it's like your soul. It's like the essence of you. It's your integrity. And it's like, if you stay true to that, nobody can move you. Nobody can change your mind. Nobody can fool you. Nobody can make you do anything. So it's all about, basically, Uranus is going to put us under a test. And Uranus is going to be like, okay, I'm going to pull some shit here. I'm going to pull some crazy shit. You're going to be told this lie about, if you're in the Fourth Reich, if you're in America or one of the NATO countries, you're going to be told this lie about protecting your home. I'm going to see if you can stay true to your own essence and not get suckered in. Now, if you're in a place like Russia, you're going to be called upon to defend your home. Now, your rulers are bastards too. I respect Mr. Putin much more than, any American ruler, because, the American rulers, they're a bunch of just pussy, warmongering, cokehead lawyers. Putin has done the fucked up missions that politicians send intelligence operatives and military people on. I respect that about him. And he's trying to protect the society, a traditional society that isn't all about, white guilt and, drag queen story time. So, yeah, I respect that. Now, Vesta, the symbol also looks like a spearhead. And, that stands for protecting the home. So, but depending, what side of the world you're on, what side of history you're on, it's going to mean two different things. So if you do live here in the Fourth Reich, here in America, protecting your home is about not going to war. It's about not believing the shit out of the bullshit, the propaganda out of the legacy media, the dinosaur mainstream media. All right, enough of that. That'll probably be another video. The Venus retrograde. So like I said, relationships are being evaluated. They're being tried. They're being tested for their strength and integrity. Retrogrades are all about putting things up for review, testing them, reviewing them, taking a second look. So relationships are up for this. The other thing too, Venus stands for wealth and creature comforts, luxuries, material comforts. So all of those things are being tested. So the retrograde started July 22nd. It's going to run until September 3rd, and then Venus will stay in the shadow degrees until October 7th. So this retrograde runs from 4 degrees Leo to 18 degrees Cancer. So 4 degrees Leo is conjunct with the fixed star Regulus, which is 5 Leo, which is the heart of the lion. So that's the lion's passion, the lion's desire, the lion's soul. So this retrograde, it's kind of a humbling. It's going to help to humble people and help to awaken people, because Venus goes from being at the point of, just almost at the point of Regulus to being like the proud lion that's ready to fight back. Then it goes back to, let me see here. Well, yeah. So it was near Regulus. Now, it was also near another fixed star, which is at 2 degrees of Leo, called Alphard, which is the heart of the Hydra, or the heart of the Naga, heart of the serpent. So, and Alphard, so Regulus deals with rulers, and things like that. People, people of high standing, high status, authority. Alphard deals with great interest in occult knowledge, secret knowledge, esotericism, all types of, secrets of the universe, other people's secrets. Also deals with real estate and houses, and it deals with collecting money in old age. So it's funny, when you look at the economy in the US and in the Western world today, it's like the old people, these countries where you had baby booms, the old people are like the engine of the economy, because you have here in America, you do have millions of retirees who have made a lot of money through work, through investments, and especially like a small business owner like me, we're all trying to get these old people who are sitting on top of money to spend money on our services, and even multinationals who are retailers who sell, junk, or they sell cars, or, what furniture, whatever. The tourism industry, they're trying to get the old people who are collecting money in old age, like through things like investments, to spend money. Well, it's like what these old people, especially the baby boom here in America, doesn't realize is that their wealth has been dependent on constant warfare in the third world ever since, Vietnam. So they're very oblivious to this, and they can be, most of them are very oblivious of this, and they can be very arrogant, and they can look at younger people and be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? How come you don't have money like me? And it's like, well, because we didn't have funny money flying around like when you were young and you were working. And the country can't afford to go to war anymore like it was when you were young. So the economy's breaking down. So near those two stars, Regulus and then Alphard, that's where the retrograde starts. But, the heart of the lion and the heart of the Hydra. So, and then it retrogrades back to a star called Ashlesha. So Ashlesha, that is a star within this constellation Hydra. And it represents aggression, danger, combat, poison, treachery, deception, also occult knowledge, also real estate. It's a lot like Alphard, like the heart of the Hydra, where the retrograde starts. But it's more intense. It can be more negative. Now this Ashlesha, this represents the first signs of spiritual awakening and spiritual awareness and personal transformation. So it's all about shedding your skin. A snake sheds its skin, and because it's grown a new set, it doesn't need that set the set of skin that it's shedding. So a snake shedding its skin, it's symbolic of shedding your false ego and becoming your real self. So you have both of these stars involved in this Venus retrograde, the start and end points of the retrograde, involving real estate and housing. So I don't think that the housing market's going to collapse, but I think because the housing market is the last thing like holding the wheels on the U.S. economy. But what I do think, commercial real estate's going to get rougher. Across the U.S., there's something like a 40% vacancy rate in office buildings. There hasn't been that much office space vacancy since World War II started, when, all the able-bodied men in America went to join the military, and they weren't there to work at the companies anymore. So that's not a good sign. Now, the thing is, old people here in America, a lot of their retirement funds invest in office buildings because for a long time it was one of the surest investments ever. So with this high office building vacancy, with some of these pension funds that own these buildings, you might start seeing more, defaults and foreclosures and things like that, which is going to hurt potentially people's retirement funds, people's investment funds. So I think it's going to be a theme with this Venus retrograde is, people's retirement's taking a hit. Now, another thing, this is bad for the ruling class, which is good for we the people. Because, Leo, where the retrograde starts, and Aquarius, the people, are opposite signs. So Aquarius is we the people, Leo is the rulers. So the retrograde starts in the lunar mansion Persephone. So it's got this symbol like a crown. And so it's a triple pointed crown, stands for rulers. Persephone is one of the personas of the triple goddess, up there with Luna and Artemis. So Persephone, it can be about people in authority who want to help people, but on the other side of the coin, they can have a major controlling streak. So that controlling streak, that manipulative streak, is going to get exposed through this Venus retrograde. So then it goes back to the lunar mansion, Hydra. Hydra is a seven-headed serpent slain by Hercules. And Hydra, the positive of Hydra, that energy, if you have enemies that are trying to threaten you or that have to be dealt with, that Hydra energy can help you go after them and, bring about some justice. So that's a good thing. But the other side of Hydra, it can be selfish. It can be vindictive. It can be, treacherous. It can deal with, poison, because the Hydra spit, poisonous venom when it's trying to, defend itself or kill something. So, Hercules had to dodge the venom. Who was it? There was a mythological figure that was killed by the venom of the Hydra who was helping Hercules. Can't remember. But so there's that whole thing, So that's pretty interesting. Now another thing with the lunar mansion Hydra, it deals with emotional bonds between people. So it's basically like it's the energy of you have a goal, you want to accomplish it, but you need help. You need somebody's collaboration. So you create an emotional bond with the person to get them to help you. Now, there's a whole spectrum here. So on one end of the spectrum, you create an emotional bond, but you're honest with the person, you're straightforward, and there's nothing to hide, you're not lying, you're not misrepresenting anything. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, it's basically, somebody who doesn't have proper boundaries, and they're sort of like making false promises to the person they want help from, and, making promises they don't intend to keep. So, yeah, it can be a treacherous thing here, but I think when you're talking about rulers, and Venus represents comfort. So, yeah, they're in their comfort near Alphard, near Regulus, in Persephone, retrogrades back to Hydra, back to the star Ashleisha. And we really see the manipulation and, the poison coming out of these rulers. So that's going to be another thing. So it's good for all of us. All right, and then a new moon. We get the new moon, 29 degrees Cancer in Hydra. Hydra is a Mercury-ruled constellation. So new moons, it's a conception. It's the beginning of something. It's the dark of the moon. And it's also a time when the mind is cut off from the light of the soul. So, the soul can overwhelm the mind. The sun can overwhelm the moon with just intense energy. So during the new moon, that energy cuts and we kind of get a chance to inventory our emotions, our feelings, what's in our minds. But we can feel cut off from the soul too. But it's, it's the beginning of things. You've got to cut off that energy from the sun or the soul to have a new beginning, to let things reset. So that's basically, how new moons work. But, they're the beginning of things. So the new moon conjunct that retrograde Venus. So I think what that does is it helps us plant the seeds in our minds for who are these rulers really? And then dealing with the relationships of Venus. Okay, what do I want my relationships to look like? What kind of people do I want in my life here? So it helps us with that reevaluation process of all of our human relationships. This new moon is also squared by Uranus within 1 degree. So Uranus is the earth shaker. Uranus is the game changer. So pretty interesting. And, that new moon is going to be 4 degrees from that star Alphard. And I think something going on with that is we're basically being told, not so fast. Don't get too comfortable. Don't get comfortable because you're being arrogant and complacent. So I think this definitely serves, people's awakenings. Could be painful awakenings, with financial drama going on, which really won't, if it happens, it won't set into September, October, because, crashes and things like that never happen in the summer when people are on vacation. So, new moon is on August 16th. That's pre-Labor Day. But it's a good time for scandals. So yeah, and then, that Uranus, which is squaring the new moon, like I said, it's in Vesta. So Vesta, it's the goddess of the home, protecting the home. So it can be harsh, it can be critical, but it serves a purpose. But like I said, don't get misled by your desire to protect your home and your family and your loved ones. Okay. Mercury retrograde. Mercury stations August 23rd and goes retrograde. So this is a Mercury retrograde in Leo. So Leo. It deals with entertainment. It deals with performance. It deals with politics because politics is a performance art. Politics is a form of entertainment. Ever since, the Kennedy administration, when the television, the eyes of the media were constantly on politicians. Politics it's a giant media show. It's complete entertainment. So, yeah. So that Mercury retrograde runs from the 23rd of August to the 15th of September. And it stays in the shadow degrees until September the 30th. So, the whole thing takes place in Leo. Goes from 27 Leo to 13 Leo. So, the lunar mansions. The Mercury retrograde starts in Hymenaeus, goes back to Bacchus. Hymenaeus and Bacchus both deal with marriage. And, Bacchus dealt with the celebration, the feasting and the celebration around marriage. And Hymenaeus was sort of presided over the actual relationships. So even though they both deal with relationships and marriages, Hymenaeus has a more dependent energy, an energy of being more dependent on the relationship. So, and I think this is going to highlight our very codependent relationship with politicians and our political parties and politics, because so many people are codependent on politics, just like they are, on so many other things, on their possessions, on their church. They define themselves by getting approval from a group of people. So politics, that's a huge thing. People will be like, I'm not an idiot. I'm a smart Republican. I'm not an idiot. I'm an intellectual, open-minded Democrat. And it's like, well, you may want to rethink your intelligence if that's how you define yourself. So, yeah, I think this Mercury retrograde, it's going to be great for pulling scandals out of the woodwork, because Leo deals with rulers. And we're going to be reviewing our marriage to politics. People are very much married to their politics. They're very married to following the news, having their eyes glued to a television or some other sort of a screen, and following every little thing that goes on, and getting angry about the actions of people they've never met who are on the other political side. Because politics is a bunch of in-law bashing. So your party is like, oh, people will bash their in-laws and they'll be like, but my family, they're so nice, they're so good. And it's like, but my in-laws are such bastards. And it's like, no, you were attracted to your spouse and your in-laws because you're more similar than you'd ever like to imagine. So, yeah. So our whole marriage to things like politics and our blind faith in these television characters who are these public figures, it's going to be called into question. So, scandals. Fastest way to do that, scandals. Hunter Biden's plea bargain fell apart. He's going to have his business dealings on some level revealed more than they have been. And people have been making excuses for him. We're going to have a hard time doing that. Some people are going to stop making excuses for him, but they'll definitely be diehards. We're going to see the president's, Mr. Dementia Joe Biden, how he made some money. We've already seen how he made money off of bribery in Ukraine and from Chinese companies, but we're going to see more of it. More people are going to acknowledge it. So it's interesting too, the symbols. So Hymenaeus, where the retrograde starts, the symbol it looks like the symbol for Rahu, and it's kind of like an omega, and it's got this little like circle on top of it. It symbolizes somebody like laying in a luxurious bed, laying on a mountain of pillows, somebody who's like kicking back and enjoying their comforts. And then the one for Bacchus, it looks more like a K2, it's like the inverted kind of omega, and the dot is in like the little valley in the little hollow. And that, stands for, lying in a bed, because, both of these deal with marriage, both of these lunar mansions. So I think since these symbols deal with beds and cushions and, luxurious beds, it's going to rock people's comfort, because, these two lunar mansions, this is like the kick back and enjoy yourself, have a drink, kick back, enjoy yourself, part of the zodiac. So that ability to kick back and just rest easy and be like, oh, the politicians are taking care of all of it for me. That's going to be rocked for a lot of people. I think this Mercury retrograde is going to heighten the tensions with this Hollywood strike. You're going to get politicians involved because, like I said, the entertainment program, the entertainment factory is broken, and they're going to want it back on track. And I think, the media, the mainstream media is just going to be falling on its face more These politicians are going to look like bigger fools. Yeah, so I said, yeah, deepening scandals, had a note for that. Yeah, the population will get restless without the entertainment it's used to. We need a sports strike, too. That would be great. Sports fall into Leo, too. What's the other thing here? Oh, yeah. The stationing, Mercury stationing on August 23rd, 27 Leo. It's conjunct Denebula, fixed star Denebula. This is the tail of the lion. So the tail of the lion, the star, deals with swift judgment, despair, regrets, happiness turning to anger. So you're happy about something, about a situation that turned out to be different than you thought, and you're angry about it. But it's a noble star. It deals with, it's self-controlled, self-possessed, and it's generous. So this could deal with people losing their self-control and getting exposed for it, which, Hunter Biden's a walking ball of lack of self-control. And then when Mercury stations at the end of the retrograde to go direct at 13 Leo, it's 3 degrees away, so it's basically conjunct with a star called Zosma. So Zosma, very similar to Alphard. So Alphard, heart of the Hydra, great occult interest in esotericism, secret knowledge, but also this whole thing about, danger of poisoning and addictions, deals with the water element, with emotions. And so, yeah, it's basically, but then Zosma has this whole tie-in with clairvoyance. So it's basically, it's like people waking up in a hurry and getting like very sudden, abrupt, intuitive insights out of nowhere, which can be really painful at times. Now the Zosma, it's on the rump of the lion. It's right where the tail meets the base of the spine. So an interesting thing about this, in acupuncture, we have a point on top of our heads called due 20. It's the 20th point on a channel called the Dumai Meridian. The Dumai Meridian moves yang energy through your body. It starts just at the base of your tailbone. It goes up your spine, so up your midline on the back, comes over to the top of your head, and it goes actually down to your top lip here. Now, due 20 is the point that's right at the fontanelle. And we look at this as basically where heavenly celestial energy comes in and helps to enlighten you. Now, on quadrupeds, on four-legged animals, this point, this due 20 point, which is one of your connections to heaven, actually your biggest connection to heaven, your most powerful, this is on quadrupeds. It's on that point where the tail connects to the spine, so it's on the rump. So, when you get deep into Taoism and Chinese medicine, they say, well, this is why humans are upright and they have a different sort of a nature than animals. We have a subconscious, which links our conscious to our unconscious minds. Whereas animals, they don't have a subconscious. So they go from being extremely conscious and present to just acting from their unconscious. So their connection to heaven is like it's down in their lower self. So it's like the most powerful point on their lower self. So it's pretty interesting. So it's like the divine feeds their intellect. The divine feeds the instincts of animals, whereas the divine feeds our basically executive function, our cognition. So, yeah, pretty interesting place. So I think this is going to stir people's instincts, and self-preservation, everything that comes out through this Mercury retrograde. Okay. Mars will make some funky aspects here. Now, like I said, Mars, it's going to lay the groundwork for some sort of a health emergency. Well, not an emergency or a crisis, but some sort of drama dealing with health that the media will want to turn into an emergency but won't succeed, especially here in America, because Saturn, which holds things back, which puts limitations on things, is in Aquarius, the third house of media for America, and it's going to be almost on top of America's natal moon. So Saturn's going to be like, cool the fuck down here. So yeah, we're not going to have another, lockdown emergency. So Mars will come into Virgo. Virgo is health, disease, poisons, medicines, public health, all that shit, medical science. Comes into Virgo. And this is on the 18th of August. Let me see here. So at that point, it's basically opposed Neptune, which is at 2 degrees of Pisces. So, Mars will be probably a good week. Will be within the opposition zone with Pisces. So you got that going on. Mars on this day, on the 18th, it's at 0 Virgo, will be in conjunct Saturn, which is in Aquarius. So Mars wants to get up and start a fire and start a fight and conquer and do all this shit. And Saturn can slow Mars down and be like, hang on a minute here. Think about this. Use your head. Well, it's going to be in conjunct. It's going to be, instead of 7 signs away, opposed, like Neptune, it's going to be 6 signs away. It's going to be about 150 degrees away. So Saturn and Mars will not be in communication. So Saturn won't be able to slow Mars down. So this will lay the energetic foundation for some sort of media drama about health. And Neptune, which will be right across from Mars, Neptune does deal with disease, with infectious disease, just like Rahu does. Neptune is one of the rulers of Pisces. Pisces deals with hospitals, bed rest, convalescence, all that kind of thing. Illnesses that keep you out of, your day-to-day life, keep you away from the world. And then Neptune is in a lunar mansion called Chimera. So Chimera is extremely idealistic and can deal with self-sacrifice. Well, in the last 3 years, people got involved in sort of an act of self-sacrifice with taking experimental medicines, with taking the needlecraft. So this is being highlighted. The symbol for Chimera, on the one hand, it looks like a sword. On the other hand, it's referred to as a man with 2 faces. So it's almost like when a person is transitioning from this 3D world and into the spirit world. It's like the moment of death when you're in 2 worlds at once. So yeah, this could deal with something going on in the sphere of health that's, claims people's lives. And that Saturn in this particular aspect will not be there to help. Saturn is an Aegeon, the home of, King Neptune. And, the symbol for Aegeon, it's interesting because it's you've got this empty circle, which is it can be 0-point energy. It's got these lightning bolts coming off of it, which deal with the electromagnetic current that supports life, the life force. And then you've got these 2 little circles on the outside of the larger circle. And those deal with basically atoms, moving around a nucleus. So, Saturn, wants to help people to maintain their life force and always does. But Saturn's like, if you're going to play the fool, you're going to get talked into being a medical guinea pig. Can't help you. So it's almost like this is almost describing the last 3 years, especially, 2021 when the needlecraft rolled out. So there's that. Saturn will also be in Yod. So this Y formation with Saturn, which is over there again in Aquarius. And then with Jupiter, which is at 20 Aries. So, That's pretty interesting. Jupiter and Saturn working together, they manifest things. Saturn limits things, Jupiter's an expander. So those two things together, they create something new. So yeah, it's like there's something new in the world of health that Mars is, kickstarting. So pretty interesting. Let me see here. Oh yeah, so the other thing I wanted to say about that, the Mars by coming to 0 Virgo, being in this yod, being in this opposition with Neptune, it's like laying a landmine for the sun. So the sun, in mid-September, the sun's going to come to 0 degrees Virgo. It's going to step on this landmine that Mars laid. And then when you have the solar eclipse at 26 degrees Virgo on October 14th in Vulcan, that energy, of that landmine in this whole world of health that Mars laid, it's really going to manifest. So that solar eclipse on October 14th, that's going to be an eclipse with K2. All right? K2 takes things away. K2 cuts things loose. So there's two ways to look at this. K2 can bring about losses because of health, but I think this is basically going to bring the whole COVID thing to a close, like the drama around it. It'll cut the energy off. It'll be like, okay, the universe is like, no more energy for COVID drama. But some people will still be fixated on it. And, even though people will probably be falling to the side effects of the needlecraft, the media will be like, no, it's a new pathogen, it's a new cooties, So, but yeah, I think there'll be an increase in, these like died suddenly events. Now that solar eclipse on October 14th, it's in Vulcan. So Vulcan is very Venus ruled. Vulcan was like the smith of the gods that made things for the gods. Now the energy of it, because it's Venus, it can be very superficial. It can be very preoccupied with superficial things. So from now till that solar eclipse and, in the 6 months after, people might see the superficiality of the lockdowns, the needlecraft, and the political and media manipulation. The superficiality of those things for what they are. We'll see. What is the other thing? I want to say something else about that. Oh, yeah. So, Mars at 0 Virgo will be, again, the nebula, that fixed star, it's like 27 Leo. So it's within 3 degrees. Again, that's the tail of the lion. So you get that going on. Now, Neptune, which is opposed at Mars, it's 2 degrees away from the fixed star Sheep in Pisces. So, Sheep deals with military action, covert action, brilliant strategic minds, spies. Well, that whole lockdown, Wuhan cooties, needlecraft episode, that was a bunch of covert action and, warfare against all of us. So perhaps more of that coming to light. Now the other thing, Saturn, which is at 10 Aquarius in conjunct with this Mars, it is conjunct a star called Ashinar. So this is a star of royal power, wisdom, leadership, high status. Promises happiness and success. Deals with spirituality, religion, the love of knowledge and science. So, Saturn is basically trying to tell Mars, hey, cut it with all the alarmism around, the flu, trying to get people to take these experimental medicines. And they're like, look at what the science really says. And Mars is like, no, I'm not listening to that. So that's pretty interesting. But then this fixed star Ashenar, it's like the end of the road. So it's the last star in the constellation of the river Ariadnes. So the river Ariadnes, it's a mythical river that Jason and the Argonauts sailing on the Argo. Argo is a constellation in the heavens. It looks like a ship. In the myth of Jason and the Argonauts, they sailed the river Ariadnes. So it's like Saturn's basically saying this is the end of the road with all this drama. But Mars isn't going to want to, do that. All right, so October 22nd, Mars moves into opposition with Neptune. So Mars, 2 degrees Virgo, Neptune, 2 degrees Pisces, perfect opposition. They're looking at each other, they're having a little planetary battle. Mars, 2 degrees Virgo, that's in Hymenaeus. Hymenaeus, it deals with relationships and, finding ease and joy in relationships, but it can also be dependent and codependent. And it deals with people's marriage, their figurative marriage, to all of the narratives that have been coming out of public health through the media. Public health is owned by the drug companies at this point. And so it's looking at, again, Neptune, the planet of deep divine revelations and intuitions, but also illusions, delusions, about lying to yourself too. It's about when your love gets used against you in order to fool you. Now, the lunar mansion, where Neptune is, it's chimera. So it's idealism, it's being idealistic, but people often sacrifice themselves for the benefit of others because they're idealists. So it's like when you get fooled into going to war. Or it's like when you get fooled into getting the needlecraft. So the needlecraft was a loyalty oath to the regime. For a lot of people, it was like, oh, well, I hate that Donald Trump, so I'll be happy to take some experimental medicines, So this opposition between Mars and Neptune basically is pointing out, if you're going to be married to all this hysteria and all these manipulations and lies coming out of public health through the media, you're going to be sacrificing yourself. So, because again, Neptune rules disease, illusions, delusions, self-sacrifice. Christianity was very Neptunian. It was like, don't have a self, just be selfless and just be a martyr. Throw yourself under the bus for others, for Jesus, for God. So yeah, so there's going to be some disease thing going on with Mars and Virgo, especially once the sun gets there, once the eclipse happens, but I think it's going to be needlecraft side effects. Okay, last thing I want to talk about, August 20th. Sun comes into that yod. That yod's going to be set up for 4 years. So for this year, for the next 3-4 years, every time around August 20th, the sun comes to this degree. So what's that? It's about 3 Leo. Well, 2 degrees, 3 degrees. Yeah, so from about, what? Pluto's at 4 Capricorn. Neptune's at 2. Yeah. So really from about 0 Leo through 6 degrees, 7 degrees Leo, sun will be in this yod every summer, every, late August. So, Neptune, delusions. Pluto, the god of the underworld, and again, Neptune's in Chimera, which deals with this idealism and self-sacrifice. Pluto, the god of the underworld, however, is in Natura. Natura, again, the goddess of nature, who is the highest power on earth, wants to set things right, wants to bring things into coherence, into unison with natural law, with divine law. So, and the sun deals with rulers. So basically, Pluto is going to be exposing the deep secrets of these rulers and their manipulation, bringing things back into balance. So yeah, and it's in Persephone, which is the queen of the underworld. So every time the sun comes to the queen of the underworld, the god of the underworld, and then Neptune are going to be basically pulling the curtain aside and showing the secrets of our lords and masters, of our rulers. So this is a fucking long one. But that's it for now. Thanks for tuning in. If you're still listening to me saying this, thank you very much. Have a good one.